Okay.
So there are two. So this gives us two ways of thinking. Both are correct, but one is more material and doesn't include us, and one is more intuitive and does include us in the same process. So to be in the same place as the cat, we've got to come back to get into the process, not get to the end. So as Jean-Marie was saying, it's like getting on. It's like having one of those worst nightmares. You're always reaching for the chocolate, but you never quite get there in your dreams. You always find yourself reaching, but never quite actually getting it. Because once you've got it, finished. You want to keep reaching. You want to keep palpating, not palpate. So you've got to back up, and it's not easy. You've got to catch yourself. It's like catching yourself doing something. I caught myself doing it before you get there, as an ongoing phenomenon. And we'll look at, let's say, Ian McGilchrist's way of looking at things as well, which is important. It's a reminder that your Clovian talk of background and foreground. So the organic, these are the two modes of consciousness. The organic is a participatory dynamic. The analytical is a reductionism. We must make sure which is which. But what we get a lot of the time is what was called counterfeit organic. When people say, oh yes, we've got a multidisciplinary approach. That's not whole. That's like a car being put together, the pieces. And it always cause clash. I mean, if you're an acupuncturist working with a homeopath, working with an osteopath, they're all going, I can treat that. They're all coming in from different angles, which is fine. But sometimes you get a clash between a lot of people. You will see what you're thinking. And when you shift your thinking, this is from Wittgenstein's book. I think he took it and used it in Logical Investigations. I think that Thomas Kuhn uses this as well in whatever that book was. The Structure of Scientific Revolutions. He uses this image as well. It goes back a few years. So it's this it never ends. It never ends. No matter how much you think one end, there's always the other side. Some people. This is you and the patient in a relationship of movement. So in the organic, if I get this right, John-Marie, belong together. I know you picked me up on that. You picked me up on this a few years ago. I think you went wrong. You said, really? Yeah, you're right. So the organic, let's say the giraffe and the trees belong together. The emphasis on the word belong. The car and its wheels belong together. It's a construction. You and the patient belong together, not outside of one another.
Now I get the unity, not diversity.
Ah, there we go. That's €1 dropped.
I got it before from the books of Henry Borthoff, but
Right.
as you
Go through it again and again.
go through it again, now it goes clunk.
This is why it's good to do these things. It's all very well watching me on YouTube or reading the book. When he comes, I mean, Jean-Marie's come a long way. He's driven for, what, 40 hours it took you to get here? No, from Belgium. Just to go 10-minute train journey. No, to go through it, we have to work through it together. So we're reading stuff, Andrew asked me questions, and suddenly the penny just drops. Boom. Multiplicity and unity, the many as the one. Multiple bones, but actually, there's only one bone here. There's only one bone, showing itself differently. But that one bone is not a number one. It's an archetype. It doesn't exist as a physical object. It exists in your consciousness, because you are part of the process. So when Schiller said to Goethe, oh, it's just an idea, Goethe said, I'm glad I have some ideas. Because that was it. It's an idea. It's an archetype. The archetype is not a blueprint. As you'll see tomorrow, this is where the evolutionists completely messed up. Because they thought it was some sort of blueprint, a physical phenomenon, which it wasn't. because your consciousness is a major part of your perception, as we've just seen with the giraffe and the cube. So it has to be included. And the only way to include this is by the archetype saying there's only one bone, but we're seeing multiple expressions of one bone. And the archetype, which is that one bone, is in your consciousness. It's not a physical object. It's the act of perception. It's included in the act of perception, not in the... Sorry, the act of perceiving, not in the act of perception. It's in the act of doing. This is why it's so hard, because it's like constantly getting on a horse, but never getting on a horse. Because nature doesn't stop. Sorry, this is so tough. I see you all looking at me. You go, what's for dinner? Listen, I really appreciate me allowing me to put you through this, and you came back after lunch. I see the car park just cleared after lunch. On my own.
Where did I go wrong?
I was at Newton, no one turned up. But at least it's making, you get this little penny, I can hear little euro cents dropping around the room slowly. It's not easy. It took me a long time. I mean, that book is what, how old? 2000? Right, it's got one of my books. It's 2000 when I started renting. This is 17 years ago, guys. No, actually longer than that, because that's when it was published. It's taken me 18, 19 years to get to this point. Look at your face. But the thing is, it's only Henry Porter. Sorry, sorry. I'm picking on you. Sorry. But it was only Henry Bortoff that saved me from this, as it were, and I'm now giving it back. So look, guys, I'm telling this to undergraduates now in Poland who are well before your age of practice. They're getting it at undergraduate level now, which is good. Because like Isaac Newton said, the reason why Isaac Newton was so great, because he was standing on shoulders below him that raised him up. We need to get younger people into thinking like this, not to exclude the mathematical, but to add this to it. It's so important, because it will hold us up. So when they go up through the system, they'll know about this. It won't be a mystery. It doesn't make it any easier. So, our diversity of sense experience, we have two sides. Multiplicity unity and unity multiplicity. Two sides of the same phenomenon. In the top side we have holistic consciousness, which is the intuitive mind, which is universal. That's one. Below we have unity multiplicity, analytical, intellectual, which is always an abstract generalized, it's always general. The idea of separateness should be obliterated, as we said this morning in McKone. So we're going to have a quick look at the hologram principle. So I take a photograph of my patient and put that photograph onto a sheet of glass. Okay? And then take that sheet of glass and I drop it on the floor and it smashes. What you get is pieces of the original picture. So I can pick up this piece of glass, it's got a bit of foot in it, I can pick up that bit of glass, it's got a piece of hand, separate pieces of glass. Okay? So that was from the original part. Now, what I now do is take another photograph of my patient, but this time it's in a laser image. So the laser is light imparted into the sheet of glass. So when you have a hologram on your Gold American Express card, and you move it slightly, you get a slight shift. In fact, the Apple phone does it as well. You just do it slight. That's a hologram. You can move it. So the image is a light image in the material of the glass. Okay. Now I take that glass sheet and I drop it on the floor, and it smashes into pieces. Whenever I pick up a piece of glass, I don't get a piece of the original image like the other one. I get the whole image in every piece. So now that whole image is now reduced to images in every piece of glass, not parts of the original image in every piece of glass. It's always the whole. The hand is the whole, the elbow is the whole, the head is the whole, the knee is always the whole. But the whole is not a physical object. The whole is behind the physical. Not literally behind, behind it. What we see as the physical is the end. It's a bit like splitting the card. Every time I tear the card in half, I get a star in each half. It's always in there. Does everybody understand that? Anyone?
Yeah.
Are you okay with that?
It's like strawberry plants and bananas and stuff. It's 20,000 trees, but it's one
tree. If you see a field of daffodils, it's only one daffodil 20,000 times. But that one daffodil is not a physical object. It's what Aristotle would call the substance or the archetype. It's in the observer for you to recognize. Because you're part of the phenomenon, you have to recognize daffodils. So to recognize a daffodil, you're part of that phenomenon. You hold the archetype, not a blueprint on a shelf somewhere. You are involved in the world. You don't think that a cow goes across and goes, oh look, there's a daffodil. It doesn't. It just goes, So as human beings, this is what Goethe said we've come up to. As human beings, we're the most balanced of all animals, which we'll see tomorrow. We have the ability to do this. So therefore, our mind, or mindfulness, or whatever you want to call it, is part of the process. And so to recognize a field of daffodils is because you hold the idea of daffodilness, or chairness, or tableness. You have 3 different types of chairs, but you'll still call them chairs because they hold chairness as an idea. The idea is what we hold. The idea of illness is what we're looking for. The idea of illness, not the illness. Once we get the idea, we can participate with it, then we get meaning, then we get understanding, then we get intuitive judgment about what to do. This, I think, is what Steele was trying to get across. But everybody started analysing everything and abstracting and pulling things apart. So the treatment is not the issue. It's this coming into being, the meaningfulness of something. The not getting on the horse, but always getting on the horse. Are you okay then? Do you want to pull that across? Do you want to be a bit more light? Just cover that up a bit. Because I don't want you all sitting like that. Headaches. That one. Okay. This is snow light. This is what Goethe calls snow light. It's intense light which comes through darkness and clouds. This means snow.
Don't you?
You'll get
I don't. I'm totally digging. That's good.
He was good at big small tubes. That'll do. That's it. Just sit in there. Just bright light on you. So that's fine. I'm not happy with that. This is snow light. Intense dark cloud with light. It's quite piercing. Goethe mentioned this in letters to Eckermann. And he mentioned earthquakes as well. It's fascinating. He's in Italy. He's lying there. He's got his head against the wall, and the window's above him. So he's lying against the window, but the window's open. And he notices the clouds of the atmosphere above changing. And then a few seconds later, there's a small earthquake. So he's saying this whole thing is a relationship. It's not isolated. This is why, when there's tsunamis, all the animals disappear. It's like, well, those animals going up the hill. Anyway, follow them. Here's another example of active absence. The face isn't there. You're bringing the face into being. Now, this is fascinating because people didn't understand Giuseppe Arcimboldo. So this is 16th century. This is 16th century. And no one understood him. They were saying, oh, you've got really good paintings, you make it look like a face. It's like, no, he's saying something here. You can get these off the internet. They're all free on the internet, in high def. No, it's okay. I mean, take photos. Don't get caught me taking a photo. No, it's okay, but I say you can get them. If you just search Giuseppe Arcimboldo, they'll all come up as high definition photos on the internet. So again, there is no face there. It's context. The face is the idea, not the thing. And if you look at one piece of fruit, the face disappears. So this is, we see the parts, but there's something else here. There's something else here. It's an active absence here. We keep looking at this, the end. It's like we keep looking at the fruit and saying, oh look, nice fruit and veg. Nice bones. But there's something there that's coming through. That's the end. And I'm not saying something spiritual. The word spiritual, by the way, really just means meaningfulness. Me participating in something. The scientists put this word in just to make us all like, make it all religious. Trying to keep us away. So, no matter what the person's made up of, there's always something else there. There's no thing there but not nothing. It's the difference that makes up the individuality. So the date here is this is 1573. 1573.
Back then he already knew there were coming certain braces.
Some what?
Braces.
What's
The
that?
peas, the peas in the pod.
Oh yeah. There you go. There you go. Up here, the peas in the pod. But it's fascinating. The context, the face arises out of context. The face is not there. So your relationship of parts gives us a quality that each part cannot tell us about if we pull it apart. So while palpating one thing, you're thinking another. You're thinking, does anybody watch snooker last night? But you know the game, okay? So you're sitting there playing snooker or pool, playing snooker or pool. The professionals are not thinking about the ball they're hitting. They're thinking, look, the next 5 or 6 shots ahead. That's how you should be treating. I was using an example the other day of football. Okay, so the camera in a football match only shows the feet of the player with the ball, nothing else. So every time the ball's kicked, the camera follows the ball to the next feet, just below the knee. You don't see anything else. That's all you see. That's not very exciting. Now, as the camera pulls back, the field opens up. Now, what happens to most people when a player is running down one wing fast? What is everybody else looking at? As a spectator, what are you looking at?
The player.
No, you see the whole field. What are you looking at?
Okay.
Sorry?
You look where the ball is.
Honey.
You look where the ball
No, you don't. You don't. Listen, you're watching. You're in the pub. You're in the pub, right? You're watching the game on the big screen, right? You see the whole field, the goalkeeper, all the other players, and the guys running down the wing. What are you shouting? Yes, you can see the other side. You can see the potential unfolding. Got it? I'm looking for the potential to unfold. I'm looking for possibilities. But if I'm just concentrating on my feet and looking at the ball and not looking up, look up. Don't look down. Keep up, keep looking at the patient, keep thinking as you're treating. Feel that shoulder, feel that abdomen. What are the possibilities? I'm running down the wing, and I don't run down the wing like that, at the ball. I'm looking. And you're looking as a spectator in the bar with your mates going, pass the bloody ball! It's clear. But you can only do that if you back off. Not if you're down the hole. And that's how I treat. I'm always thinking about where to go. Where should I go next? Oh, let's try over here. That feels a bit. Oh, how did you know that was there? I didn't know. Just thinking it. Think dynamically, not step by step by step by step by step.
Yeah.
Got it?
Yeah, it's like you're doing something somewhere and you feel like I'm missing something. There you are.
But how? Yeah, but when you're playing music again, like Marcellus was saying, you're not thinking about what you're playing. When you're dancing, you're not thinking about your feet. You fall over. So stop thinking about your hands. In fact, forget your hands. In fact, you won't be feeling the patient anymore. You're thinking through the patient, not feeling the patient. Nothing's moving here. Nothing is moving. It's only moving through context. If you take one spot and look at it, everything stops. But if you just move around, it moves with you by its form. So I should have asked anybody if they suffer from epilepsy, but too late, hey? Soon find out. sorry, but ethical. Right. But even here, this looks like it's bending, but it's not. It's just that the width is narrowing. Because the bend, if I do that, it's flat. It's just it's not an illusion, it's reality. What we call optical illusions are not optical illusions. To be an optical illusion is to remove your consciousness out of the picture and treat the phenomenon as though it's deceiving you. It's not deceiving you. It's you being involved in context. But every scientific book will say this is an illusion. This goes back to Galileo and his deceiving things. You know, you're walking down a country lane, summer's evening. Excuse me, you're walking down a country lane and it's getting the sun's going down, lovely summer's evening, and what looks ahead down the end of the lane looks like a cow. You think it's a cow, but you get closer, it's just a bit of bush coming out. But you needed to have that idea for safety reasons or something. But it's not an illusion, it's a possibility. Goethe said there's all these possibilities, they're not illusions. There's a possibility this is a bend. Now we know it's not a bend, but all it is just the skew getting thinner. This is where your judgment comes in. It's not the senses that deceive, it's the judgment. Look at the blooming thing, look at it for what it is. Does that make sense? It's the judgment that's deceiving you, not your senses. Once you know this is flat, it gets flatter.
Is it called like a deception or a mistreat?
Yeah. So call it deception if you want. That's it. It looks like you're being deceived.
Yeah.
It's your judgment that's deceiving you, not your senses. Because once I say these are flat blocks, it's flat, and the width at the end, it actually goes a bit flatter. You move between flat and open, because rather than just looking at it as a bendy thing. If you look at these, if you keep staring at this here, it looks flatter. If you go in the middle, it looks bendy, it looks wider. Yeah. So look at the edge, it's flat. Look at the middle. So you can make it move. You're making it move just like the cube is. And it's not your eyes that are doing it, it's your consciousness. Now the middle looks darker than this bit here, but it isn't, it's the same. What makes it darker is the brown on the edges. Because it's always in context.
What would happen if you turn the purple and orange around?
It would look, the middle would probably look a bit purpler. Not as orangier. Purpler. Is it only works? Hey, it only works. It will look purpler. Actually, you know what? If you look at the edges here, if you look at the white bits here, it looks a bit darker, doesn't it? On the inside there. That doesn't work. Usually he jumps up and down, and I get you to try and slow him down by your consciousness, but I'll try and make that work for tomorrow. Look what's happened. Okay, here we have some dolphins. You've got a dolphin here, dolphin there, dolphin there, dolphin, dolphin. Sorry. Okay, I can only see dolphins.
Yeah, right. Alles schaduwen zijn dolfijnen voor.
Explaining. But then again, you see, you only see what you're thinking.
Een beetje een asje.
Okay, so what happens in science is we want the facts in a glass contained, so we can call it a truth. So we start with a theory and we want to end in a fact. And the word theory means to see, to behold. So we're seeing before the phenomenon. So once we get theorized, we can't see anything else. Again, if you have glasses with red lenses, everything's in shades of red. Even if you give something that's blue, it looks like it's dark red. That's what a theory does. It colours your world. in the organic science, we want the experience. We want to start with experience, and we want to end in theory. So really, the difference between modern science and organic science is where you place your theory. In regular science, you begin with an idea, a theory, and then you try and see if it works or doesn't work. But you'll be there forever. This is why science is so expensive and so big. But if you work on deepening the experience on an individual basis, you will end in the theory. You'll end in seeing rather than seeing before the phenomenon. But to do that, you have to back off. Again, a bit like walking through the woods at night. Be totally sense of awareness. Be open to everything. Be attentive. Don't be passive. And we'll put that into practice on Saturday. Don't be passive. Be attentive. Be alert. Be awake. But don't dominate. It's a bit like going to a pool. You know, you go into a small swimming pool and start splashing, going, look, why is the water going up and down? Don't dominate. Sit there. But don't be passive. Don't go, you know. So, in the organic science, we have the practitioner. The method and the experience are constantly moving. The method is the movement. The experience arises with the movement process. In the mechanistic one, or the Cartesian, we start with the method, we experiment in the experience, and we end with the person, interpreting that. So it's a complete experience replaces experiment, method stays the same in a way. But both have methods, different experience, experiment, and where you start at the end of the process. I want to start with you all the time. Not ending you. We'll have a break in a minute. We've done a quite big chunk actually. It's quite good. We'll have a break in a minute. Oh, good, you can speak English. This is so hard in Polish. It's so difficult in Polish. The park keeper would not permit me to enter the park without a permit. Permit. Different meaning. Allowance and passport. It's the context. But I'm going to read the next bit quickly so you can all enjoy it. You may have read about research at university or other which show that it doesn't really matter in what order the letters in a word are placed. Apparently, the only important thing is that the first and last letters are in the right place, because even if the rest is a total mess, you can still read it without any great problem. That is because we do not read every letter by itself, but grasp the word as a whole. Do you like that?
Yeah,
There's more.
There's Dutch stuff like this.
Oh, it's all over. I've got all the translations here. I've got Russian, I'll just go through them all in a minute.
Okay.
If you imagine each letter is a cell in the body, each word is a build-up of cells, each paragraph is whatever, a tissue, each book is a system of organs. You don't read the part. You know, when you read a book, you don't have to remember everything you've read previously to make it understand. You go through it. It's the act of reading in which you understand, not the reading. You've got to back up again. You can help yourself to that one. German, then Polish. It works in every single language. I can't even read it. I can't even see it. It's a black blur on a white background. When I use the word Humpty Dumpty said in a rather scornful tone, it means just what I choose it to mean, neither more nor less. The question is, said Alice, whether you can make words mean so many different things. The question is, said Humpty Dumpty, which is to be master, that is all. We keep taking ourselves out of the picture all the time. Words mean nothing unless you're there to bring them into meaning. I'll say that again. Words mean nothing until you bring it into meaning. Language does not exist unless you talk. Words do not exist unless you read. They don't mean anything until we always take ourselves out of the action. So, language doesn't exist unless you talk. Reading doesn't exist unless you read. Words mean nothing without the activity of you bringing it into meaning. It's the act of doing. Back to William James, the act as if principle. The doing. There's nothing but doing. It doesn't. It does. It's not what you say; it's how you say it. This is Wittgenstein. The words again mean nothing. It's the activity between hello, 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 and the context in which you say that. You know, it's like you may have a nice partner. You say hello. You go, what do you mean? You want to say hello. It's that simple. I always get asked this question after a while, after all my lectures.
Why?
Because people think that I'm being religious by talking this way.
Ah, okay.
The way I talk. I'm the most unreligious person you can meet. But when they say, I don't mean that in a derogatory fashion, I just am. If someone says to me, and people say to me, the hands will go up, do you believe in God? Now, philosophically, I cannot answer that question. If I say no, it will actually be yes. Because if I said no, I do not believe in God, to answer no, I have to recognize the subject to the sentence existing, to deny it. It becomes a contradiction, in a way. And then it makes it so. If it was, do you like chocolate ice cream? And I said yes or no, it's fine. But if someone says, do you believe in God? Say, I cannot answer that question, otherwise I will be recognizing the subject to the sentence. And that becomes silly language. So, rule number 35, never answer the question. What philosophers do is they never answer questions unless they ask themselves this question to every question. Is the question valid? And the question, do you believe in God, is not valid. Or, another example, patient comes to you and says, do I have or do I not have depression? That's not valid. To have is a possessive article. To have, to possess. You can have a car or not have a car. You can't have depression or not have depression. So whenever you're asked a question, is the question valid? Sorry? Depressive.
You are depressive.
It's not valid.
Depressing.
Yeah, in the act of pushing. So yeah, is it always asked, is the question valid? You know, policeman stops you. Were you speeding? Is the question valid? Arrest. No, told us.
Your driver's license.
Yeah, do you have a driver's license? Ah, is the question valid? Officer. Off we go. Resisting arrest verbally. Okay, we'll do a few more, we'll have a break in a minute. So okay, giraffe. Why does a giraffe not have a long neck? Go on.
Because you're small.
Is the question valid? Remember, you've forgotten already. It is valid, but it's a giraffe, full stop. It doesn't have parts. It's also got a very long legs, long tongue. Apparently the fascial pressure, because of the pressure up the side of the neck, is the most in any animal in the world. The pressure, to hold that blood pressure up, the top end. It's actually, it's like if you stuck a pin in it, it'll just explode. Because the pressure's so high in there, to keep that blood up, top of the head. So, phenomenology is to the things themselves, not comparing them, breaking them up into pieces. And not speculating beyond the phenomenon. So taking appearance seriously as it is, as an indication. There we go. To ask a doctor's opinion of osteopathy is equivalent to going to Satan for information about Christianity. Right. Go on. Right, we did a good 1.5 hours. Let's come back at 4 o'clock. Let's come back at 4.